Well, I've made a terrible mistake. I've knitted this 2 rows too many, and I kept on going, and I didn't notice I made that mistake until I'd gone this far. I'm going to rip this out, but I'm not going to worry my pretty little head about anything, because there's a way to do that to protect these slippery stitches. Now, you don't have to do this when you're working with wool and things that are kind of sticky. Things won't run very easily, but this could possibly run because it has some rayon in it. I knitted this piece on a size 11, but I am not going to pick these stitches back with that size. It's much harder to do that way. I'm going to get a different needle, a smaller one, much smaller, and just go measure down where I want it to rip back to, and I'm going to pick those stitches up onto this needle right here. And you'll see that all of them are kind of slanting to the right. Well, that's how our stitches look when they're on our needle when we're knitting. Isn't that so? Now I'm going to continue to go on across here. This is for stockinette stitch. And then when you get to the garter stitch, you pick up the top edge of that. Be consistent all the way across. There's one more there. He's kind of hiding from me. And then we have one more here. All right. Now all these stitches, and if you miss one, nothing bad's going to happen. Even if you get it in the wrong row, but just very important not to do. I was very careful to see that. See, the cable is right, well, here's the needle. It's right here. I think I missed one right there, so we'll see what happens when that works out. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we've got to make sure that it's 1, 2, 3, and 4 across the entire row so that you make sure that it's in the same row. If it isn't, once again, don't worry. Nothing horrible is going to happen. I have Audi-Click needles, by the way, and I absolutely adore them. That's the easiest way to handle most of my knitting chores, and that's what I use all the time. Oops. And if I wasn't shaking, it would go in very quickly. This little plug for something so wonderful. Then you can just rip this out, and when you do, I keep the 2 strands together as one. I don't try to separate them because as you were knitting, they were actually twirling around each other. And I would wind these into a ball together just on top of the yarn that I was using. I might separate it with a little piece of paper or something. All right, we're almost back to that point where we can start knitting. And if I got into another row, well, no big deal, we'll just fix it. Ah, there's one I did. So what I will do is I'll just allow that stitch to drop. And I'll pick these up right here. I love it when all these little weird things happen, so you can see what to do when they do. I've gotten a hold of something I shouldn't have right there. And once again, I did it on a needle. See, I'm down a whole row. So that makes it so that we are correct to this point. And on this end, I'm not. So I will guard those stitches with my needle and just resume knitting all the way across, making sure that my stitches are on my needle correctly, picking up both pieces of that yarn as we go. It looked pretty good with just looking in the eye there, but it wasn't quite right, was it? But nothing bad will happen. Now we can just start knitting with our size 11 needle at the point where we should have been knitting all along. If you do drop one down and it starts to run, please don't worry. Pull up that loop, stockinette, and you just pull that little stitch right through that hole. And put it back on your needle. I didn't get both of them. Let's get both of them. There we go. And onto the needle it goes. We're ready to knit. With the correct size needle in the pattern we're supposed to. So I will switch this end right here to my number 11 needle and knit my brains out in the pattern I should. And that's all there is to it.